Om Namo Bhagavatam. Continue readings from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, Text 3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 The activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. Matam Kalu Viparse Mahatam Kalu Viparse Uttama Shloka Padayo Uttama Shloka Padayo Jaya Nivrita Chitana Jaya Nivrita Chitana Na Kutumbe Sprihamati Na Kutumbe Sprihamati Mahatam Kala Viprarse Uttama Shloka Padyo Shayana Vrita Chitana Nakatumbe Sprihamati Matam Kala Viprarse Uttama Shloka Padyo Shayana Vrita Chitana Nakatumbe Sprihamati Matam Kalo Viprarse Uttama Shloka Padyo Shayana Vrita Chitana Nakatumbe Sprihamati
Mahatam Kalu Viprashe Uttama Shloka Padayo Jaya Nivrita Chitana Nakutumbe Sprihamati
Mahatam Kalu Viprashe Uttama Shloka Padayo Jaya Nivrita Chitana Nakatumbe Sprihamati
Mahatam Kalu Viprashe Uttama Shloka Padayo Jaya Nivrita Chitana Nakutumbe Sprihamati
Mahatam Kalu Viprashe Uttama Shloka Padayo Jaya Nivrita Chitana
Nakatumbe Sprihamati
Mahatam Kalu Viprashe
Mahatam Kalu Viprashe Uttamashlokahayo. Jaya Nirvita Chitanam. Nakatumbe Srihamati.
Mahatam of great devotees. Kalu, certainly. Viprashe, O great sage among the Brahmanas. Uttamashlokaparyo, of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chaya, by the shade. Nivrita, satiated. Chitanam, whose consciousness. Na, never. Kutumbe, to family members. Sprihamati, consciousness with attachment. Translation. Elevated Mahatmas who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are fully satiated by the shade of those lotus feet. Their consciousness cannot possibly become attached to family members. Please repeat. Elevated Mahatmas who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are fully satiated by the shade of those lotus feet. Their consciousness cannot possibly become attached to family members. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung Nitai Padakamalo Kamala Koti Chandra Sushitala Ye Chayaya Jagat Judaya. He describes the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda as being so nice and cooling that all materialists who are always in the blazing fire of material activities may come under the shade of his lotus feet and be fully relieved and satiated. The distinction between family life and spiritual life can be experienced by any person who has undergone the tribulations of living with a family. One who comes under the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord never becomes attracted by the activities of family life. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 259, Paramesvara nivartate, one gives up lower engagements when he experiences a higher taste. Thus one becomes detached from family life as soon as he comes under the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Om Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadguru Bhaktavrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you once again for allowing me to have your all wonderful association. Seriously, it's the best thing. Association, nice Vaishnavas. Thank you. Translation, please repeat. Elevated, oh, we already did that, didn't we? Yes, we did. I'll just repeat it. Elevated Mahatmas who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality Godhead are fully satiated by the shade of those lotus feet. Their consciousness cannot possibly become attached to family members. So, as the last few talks have been given, is, a little bit about, the differences between Grihamati and Grihastha life. At distributing books at the parks, you definitely see the former situation, national parks distributing the books. And you got these families coming up one after another with usually screaming kids. If one kid at Mount Rushmore, they consider the best ice cream in the state, there. And so when one kid sees some other family with a kid with an ice cream cone, it's like, I think it's $8 a cone. So like one family of 5, it's $40. Wow. That's a lot of money. And anyway, you get the screaming kids one after another. Even if they get the ice cream, they're still screaming. Or maybe for a little while they're not screaming, okay. But, it's just one thing after another. It's obviously the tribulations, as Prabhupada points out. Any person who has undergone the tribulations of living in a family, has experienced this distinction. If one's experienced spiritual life as well, it's a distinction. It's very clear that people are not happy, and they, and then if the guy works so hard to have this 2-week vacation, so he's trying to have as much fun in this 2 weeks, and then when the kids are not happy, he's like, what the heck, spent all this money, worked so hard for you to have a good time, and now you're not happy. And it's just obviously it's just Krishna's arrangement to show the guy, look, because there's no reason why the kids shouldn't be that happy, but still, or the wife just goes, I really wanted to go do that, but you wanted to do this, so I'm here, okay. No, I don't really like it here, but it's like, God, just no real satiation, right? As Mick Jagger says, I can't find no satisfaction. I mean, it's really, really clear because, I'm on the sidelines just observing all this, just seeing how, they're not so worried about what I'm thinking. Just some monk guy in the corner there, so they just really let it all go. And plus you can, being in devotional life, you can hear underneath the surface, the subtle body, how it goes, by all the facial interactions or whatever else, the subtle nuances of people that are, obviously just not really working out their experience. And then when a kid comes along, I'm suffering, Dad, I really would like a book that will help me. And then the father goes, no, you can't have it. Or the mother goes, no, can't have it. Now, even if I go, it's okay, they're free, you can have one. The kids love the pictures, it's good. No, come on, we got to go. It's either, you got to be a product for my enjoyment, and I want to live the illusion that I'm Krishna and you're Radha. And the kid's going, this is not working. And the wife's going, that's not working. And then, or it switches around, no, I got to be the supreme enjoyer. You are, or the kid's trying to do that with the parents as well. I like 4 cones, Dad, or you're going to get a big screen so much, you're going to be really embarrassed here. So, so that everybody's got their controlling abilities, and it's one thing after another, and nobody's really loving each other, that's for sure. And then you add in power and opulence into this situation, and then what do you really get? Here we have, what was it? Abraham Lincoln, since I'm at Mount Rushmore, get to know these quotes. So Abraham Lincoln said, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. And that kind of leads to Acton, who famous guy in the past, he wrote to a famous thing that he wrote to some bishop, and it goes as follows. Great men are almost always bad men, even when they exercise influence and not authority. Still more when you superadd the tendency or the certainty of corruption by authority. And the famous quote, power tends to corrupt and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So this is true if you look at history. People, when you add Griha life with power and opulence, you get a mess. You get a serious mess, like real deal mess. And, Prabhupada writes in a purport later in the chapter that people who tend to have like a nice house, a nice, quote unquote, nice family and all that stuff, then their entanglement in this material world increases. I was on Warp Tour and, distributing the books on Warp Tour every year while I was running. And I remember the best top band player guy, got finished and got off stage, and all the cameras are there and the reporters. And this was far out. I couldn't believe I saw this. Everybody's going, wow, you're such a great so-and-so and great so-and-so, and all trying to get interviewing. And he just looks at everybody in the camera and goes, I'm in hell. Why are you interviewing me? I'm in hell. I hate my life. I hate myself. And walked on, all on camera. I'm sure some of that was live, you know, and that was far out, you know. I mean, he was just being real, you know. He's being a real person, you know. He's got this money and power, Griha Medi person. And I used to work at Sierra Tucson, you know, one of the best rehabilitation centers in the country, as a hiking guide. And I was kind of, you get to go, oh, wow, I know that rock star, you know. Take one of the cool rock stars that you thought was a great being and everything, you know, and really cool when you were a kid, and you're taking him on a thing because he's addicted to whatever. I recognize that movie. It brings in a lot of famous people. But, you know, they speak about different kinds of relationships. You got the A-frame relationships, where people lean on each other, like the Fallible Soldier program. And they have the bar there, right? They get together, but they're leaning on each other. And if one person decides to split, they become dependent on that other person, you know? So when that person splits or has not that much of an interest, that person falls down because it's an A-frame. And then everybody knows that, you know, in counseling, that you have to get, if you want to become cured of your addiction, you got to get in touch with a higher power, right? You got to get in touch with a higher power, and you need a new set of friends. So Hare Krishna is perfect for recovery people, right? You get a new set of friends, devotees, and this is the science of the higher power we have. So then you have L relationships. You know, it's an L. You're an L. You're connected with Krishna, and then when you get together, you're like an H. You know, you get together or you don't. You know, you're still cool because you're with Krishna. So that's the more like the Grihastha program, so, or Brahmachari program, legit one. And so on the other side of this picture, we shared the miserable Griha Medi life to, you know, just the opposite, or the Mahatmas that's spoken about in here. What is that verse in Bhagavad Gita? Satatam Kirtayantamam?
That's the next one.
Oh,
the first one is Mahatmanas Tumam
what's the English for that one?
The great souls and Mahatmas are fully under taking shelter of the divine energy. They know me as the supreme, absolute, and inexhaustible.
Always chanting my glories.
And the next one is always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination.
Bound
Down
down
before
before
me, such great souls are always connected with me.
perpetually worshiping me and serving me. Yeah. So this is you know, nice examples of the gopis, right? They weren't really attached to family life when Krishna was playing the flute, right? And they just left everything. They left the kid there, the parent, and they could care less because they knew they'd be ostracized by the community and maybe never allowed back home. I mean, they took that chance to go for Krishna, completely renouncing, you know, everything, just to be with Krishna. And then we have the nice story of Raghunath Das Goswami, who tries to be with Lord Chaitanya, but his family member, his father and mother, send guards and bind him back, you know, kind of like, you know, they force him back to stay. He tries to escape again, they force him back, but he got the blessings of Lord Nityananda, finally escapes. And when he arrives, before that I should share that he, Lord Chaitanya, was it? They gave him a tip, you know, go back to your family life. There'll be a time when it'll be appropriate. But, you know, just like a woman who has a husband, but it's attached to another man, right? You should be like that with family life. And that you play your role nicely with your husband, because you don't want to lead on that you've got another lover on the side. So you play your role nicely. And of course, for Raghunath Das Goswami, your real lover is Krishna, or Lord Chaitanya for that matter, you know. not in a perverted way, of course. So to carry out our material activities, but we're not attached to them. And Raghunath Das did that, and thus the guards were slackened, and they had a chance to escape at some point. Finally got to be with Lord Chaitanya. When he arrives with Lord Chaitanya, or maybe it was before, Lord Chaitanya says that, you know, your mother and father are like worms in stool. They accept that which is, you know, disgusting to great advanced souls as the greatest pleasure, you know, this family life, family attachment. So, yeah, and we see that this, I mean, there's nothing wrong with grihastha life, please. I'm not here shooting that down at all, right? So hold out. Hold your bazookas at hand. I'll get to, I'll balance it out or whatever. But the point is, and as Prabhu here also mentioned in class, that there's a reason for this chapter. So fortunately, spiritual life, the non-attachment to family life, is coming from above. You know, so it's not forced renunciation. With purification of consciousness, we just lose attraction for family life. It's just a fact, because our real husband is Krishna. You know, Krishna is really the only one that can take care of all of us. That so-called husband is, you know, only can protect us to the degree that Krishna allows. I mean, we see, right, with the cowherd, with Krishna's wives, you know, were stolen by the infidel cowherd boys, right? And Arjuna could not protect them. That was his service. You know, Arjuna, the great warrior, and these are just like people with some sticks and so forth, you know, couldn't even protect the wives with these. So, you know, it was Krishna's arrangement. It was actually Krishna who was the cowherd, the infidel cowherd boys. But that's another thing. But the point is that Arjuna doesn't have the power if Krishna doesn't want him to have the power. So our husband will have power as long as Krishna wants the husband to have the power to protect. So we need to be careful with making sure our attachment is with Krishna, who is the real husband. That's my point. And here we have, you know, Krishna basically letting Rukmini know where his interest lies. You know, I mean, he's just had 16,000 kids plus kids, so and a bunch of wives there. So, but he's basically saying, as I've already explained, I'm not very much interested in family life or love between husband and wife. By nature, I am not very fond of family life, wife, children, home, and opulences. As my devotees are always neglectful of all these worldly possessions, I am also like that. Actually, I am interested in self-realization. That gives me pleasure, and not this family life. And you know, after Krishna basically tells Rukmini, look, you know, I'm really not worthy to be your husband, Rukmini. I'm penniless. I'm kind of a coward. I ran away from Jarasandha and so forth and so on. And, you know, I don't treat family so well. You know, I've left Mother Yasoda and all the rest, you know, what to do. So you should pick another husband like Shishupal or, you know, Jarasandha or some of these people that'll really, you know, treat you really right. And then Rukmini gives her side of the story of what that husband really is. And so it just helps us get more renounced, which is nice, and making sure Krishna is our real love. So Rukmini goes on to say, my dear Lord, you have advised me to select one of the princes such as Shishupal. This is after being married for many, many years. Jarasandha and Dantavakra. But what is their position in this world? They are always engaged in hard labor to maintain their household life, just like the bulls working hard day and night with an oil pressing machine. They are compared to asses, beasts of burden. They are always dishonored like dogs, and they are miserly like cats. They have sold themselves like slaves to their wives. Any unfortunate woman who has never heard of your glories may accept such a man as her husband. But a woman who has learned about you, that you are praised not only in this world, but in the halls of the great demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, will not accept anyone besides you as her husband. A man within this material world is just a dead body. Prabhupada calls a wife at one point a dead body that flaps around for a few years. Such loving affection, huh? Okay. You are her husband. Sorry. Who will not accept anyone besides you as her husband? A man within this world is just a dead body. In fact, superficially, the living entity is covered by this body, which is nothing but a bag of skin decorated with a beard and mustache, hairs on the body, nails on the fingers, and hairs on the head. Within this decorated bag are bunches of muscles, bundles of bones, and pools of blood, always mixed with stool, urine, mucus, bile, and polluted air, and enjoyed by different kinds of insects and germs. A foolish woman accepts such a dead body as her husband, and in sheer misunderstanding loves him as her dear companion. This is possible only because such a woman has never relished the ever blissful fragrance of your lotus feet. So what is the first thing I think of after reading this? I think of the need for book distribution, right? Right? I'm sure you all had that same thought, right? Yeah. Just kidding. Or prasadam distribution. We got to give people a chance to experience, what is this? They will continue to go that route until they relish the ever blissful fragrance of Krishna's lotus feet. So they taste that. Sorry if you heard this too many times, but maybe I didn't say it at all. My mom and I were having lunch right over there, dinner, and she's never used the word bliss in her whole life, as far as I recall. And she was eating just, whatever the prasad, honoring the prasadam, and she just looks up and goes, "This food is blissful." It's like choreographed practically, right? What the heck? And so they get in touch, or they get in touch with Krishna's words, the stories, the pastimes, and so forth, Prabhupada's books. And then they're all like, wow, okay. And then automatically in fact, you see that this happens all the time. The husband and wife, obviously really attached, they come to the table. And then either the husband or the wife picks up the book, and she literally goes into samadhi, or he goes into samadhi, like totally absorbed, and like nothing else exists, literally for those moments. And then you can just see the opposite one who's not in the samadhi just going, I think I'm going to lose my sense gratification. You can see that processing going on there, really, really far out. Anyway, it's just how it works. Krishna's better. It's a higher taste. Krishna than this pile of blood, pus, and stool that flaps around for a few years. The dead body that flaps around for a few years. Sorry, but giving it as it is here. And we see so many things in the Krishna. I mean, the Yadu dynasty, they killed each other. They're all family. That's a family. That's the dynasty. That's Krishna's, kids and so forth and so on. They just ended up killing each other. I mean, what a mutilation, I mean, there's another example of how attached Krishna is to family. Yeah, let me just arrange so they just kill each other. Yeah, just brutally, like, wow. So, so as above, as below, right, as they say somewhere in there. So, this isn't a bad thing. We've been raised that you gotta raise, and that's true. We have our dharma there. That we don't want to take away, but at the same time, do it as a service to Krishna, and then you're good. But outside of that, you do still have your dharma, okay? But we don't want to get falsely renounced or just go overboard and just leave family. That's not the purpose of this class at all. We have our dharma. We want to be attached to Krishna. So raising our children to become Krishna conscious, that's serving Krishna. So that's perfect and beautiful. But the overly attached stuff, that needs to get cleared out. So, too much attached. So at the time of death, we don't remember Krishna, or we remember our wife or whatever. That's not going to be good. So, or our dog, that would be even worse, right? And even, you see more pastimes with Krishna, in Ram Leela, banished Sita from his association just because he heard somebody talking negatively about this or that regarding his association. That's hardcore, So Krishna's playing the roles, and there's a lot of examples of reminding us that, whether we're, full-blown sannyas or grihastha, we just need to be attached to Krishna. That is definitely be emphasized. So we might want to ask ourselves, how do we get to this exalted state of the gopis and so forth and so on? And Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text, whatever, early in the Krishna is basically pointing out, this is the program. Just always remember me, always think of me, and always remember me. Done, boss, good. And then, when I read that, I'm like, oh boy. Good thing there's the next verse where Krishna says, but if you can't do that, then, is anybody doing japa? And just, maybe you all are, I don't know. I'm not. I'm doing japa, and the whole way through, you're just listening to Krishna playing the flute and watching him play the flute. Is that really happening? Maybe some of you, but not me. So fortunately, the next verse goes on and said, but if you can't do this, then, take up the process of sadhana bhakti and develop a desire to attain me, So that's generally the program that we're involved with. Maybe not everybody here, but this is a general program. Maybe somebody's more advanced, and so we have the sadhana bhakti program to gradually elevate the consciousness, to purify the consciousness, to where we're more and more remembering Krishna until that spontaneous way is fully blossomed into we are a pure state, consciousness, pure love for Krishna, until it's fully awakened. So, and there's also so many statements, like later in this chapter, you're going to be hearing, for one who desires to advance in spiritual life, attachment to material opulence and attachment to a beautiful wife are two great impediments. Such attachments are condemned even more than suicide. Therefore, anyone desiring to cross beyond material nations must, by the grace of Krishna, be freed from attachment to women and money. Of course, we have the 8 Shikshastakas, Lord Chaitanya writing down only 8 verses. One of them is Nandanam Jnanam Sundaram, Kavitam Bhagavadisha Kamahe, Kamama Janmani Janmani Svare Bhavatan Bhakti Ahitakitvi. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. So, Krishna is giving us, Lord Chaitanya is giving us the process, to the quickest process and the easiest process. Quickest and easiest process. And what is, and later in the CC, Lord Chaitanya is saying how one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. If we wear that one verse around the neck, more humble than the blade of grass, more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, giving all respect to others, not expecting one for self. Then if we follow this, then we can always and easily chant the holy name. So this is our ticket to get back, to attain this state most quickly, is to just really wear that verse around the neck. Really try to imbibe that. Then Lord Chaitanya later says, then one can easily and always chant the holy name of the Lord. And that's the program. So, let me see what time it is. Sorry. Okay, maybe a little bit more. And when I read this chapter, I got to say, Maharaj Priyavrata, he's, it's hard to really figure out without really picking it apart. But it seems to hint at two things. One, because he's got a higher taste from Narada Muni getting trained up, then he's not so attracted to the family life, and he's playing out this role in service to his superiors. And, there's like a higher service there. And then at one point it talks about being, King Priyavrata is complaining about him being too attached. And he's got to give this up to family life. And then it's pointed out that because he was, he got the blessings of his guru, who reminded him, so of to keep going with your spiritual life. So renunciation was rekindled, it's described. And so it's very important for us to keep good relations with our superiors. This is a really critical point, because then we'll get their blessings. Guru's always there, and Guru knows what's going on, and he can just like he can curse King Indra to be conquered by demons, or he can bless you to attain the goal of life very quickly and easily. So it's very important that we have the right attitude with our spiritual authorities. And also the point being, that our spiritual endeavors are eternal, right? What is that one? Bhagavad Gita 2:40. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. A little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So, whatever we do spiritually eternally exists. And I think later in this chapter we get Ajamil, am I right? Sixth canto, whoops. And so there we have another example. Somebody did a lot of spiritual endeavor, got off track, but because he did a lot of advancement, he could continue on. So whatever we can do to help society advance and ourselves advance is always for our eternal benefit. Even though it might look like committing, social suicide or whatever it might be, meaning what society would think and what our parents would think is like, oh no, you're a big loser. If it's for advancing a spiritual life, there is no loss or diminution. And there's another nice verse in here. Tvaktva svadharmam charnam bhujam harer bhajam apakvo tapatet pitodi yatrakva badram abura mushikim. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. He doesn't gain anything. So, King Priyavrata, Ajamil, I don't know, I definitely want to put King Priyavrata in the same category as Ajamil, but, there is, at least according to Priyavrata, and him stating that he's basically gotten off track. Whether he did or not, that's another thing. But definitely Ajamil got off track, right? And so, but that advancement that he made, that both of them made, they could continue on. So I like what my guru said about Prabhupada's disciples that have kind of fallen away. Basically, there's no condemnation there. He's really, in his heart, I noticed when he spoke about them, he was just like, they're on a vacation, they can, vacation from Krishna consciousness, okay, there was no condemnation, I'll stop there. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Since you're on YouTube, I think you should clarify how Krishna wanted had his family fight and kill each other.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Somebody just new to Krishna consciousness picking that up. Oh,
What's that?
well, I always didn't like my mother, let's have it. That wouldn't be good, right? Yeah. So, right. So Krishna makes this amazing dynasty, but the dynasty is so powerful that that they're not gonna, and he wants them back in the spiritual world. So his time here, he's done what he needed to do. So he's gonna go, and he needs his parts and parcels that are in the spiritual world back in the spiritual world. So nobody can kill them. They're so powerful. I mean, Krishna's kids and so forth. So he arranges for them to have a fratricidal war, whatever it might be called, what was the word used, something of that nature, where they got upset with each other and they had a fight. But this is Krishna's Leela, totally. If you fully surrender to Krishna, okay, Prabhu, let's have at it. But it's definitely not a premeditative thing on a conditioned platform. This is just pure spontaneous experience for Krishna's way of getting the parts and parcels back to the spiritual world. And
He's very well aware that they're not the body.
And they're on the liberated platform. Yeah, they're aware that they're not the body. Thank you. Go get one back there. No.
Haribol, thank you so much, Prabhu, for your class. It reminded me a lot of also how important our association is, because when you mentioned the story with your mother, it reminded me, my mom, if we're just talking on the phone, she'll randomly say, hey, meat is the new vegan, you gotta eat meat. But then, for example, in Miami, she was staying with me for a little bit, and I told her there's no meat allowed in the house. I will buy for you, I'll cook for you. And after like a week, she was like, I wish I could be vegetarian. And then I went to go visit her, and she was so proud to tell everybody that we saw, oh, she's a Hare Krishna. They're vegetarians. But if we're just on the phone, it switches, and immediately she's like, oh, no, you got to eat meat. Like,
Yeah.
there's just something about like the association of me being present and not being present. It's like a switch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Anybody else there? Yeah. Magic in the back? Okay.
Your class made me think of a particular verse in the third canto where it's described, I think it's Kapila, it's either Kapila or Devahuti speaking, I think it's Kapila though, they're describing the nature of a sadhu, a great soul. And after the famous Tatikshiva Karunika verse, it says that a sadhu, a great soul, he Mayananyena bhavena bhakti yogena yedudam. He takes a great vow to perform bhakti yoga. And in that vow, it says, mat krite twaktva karmanas. For my sake, he completely abandons all fruitive activities. Twaktva swajana bandhava. And he abandons all mundane familial attachments and mundane friends for my sake. And I was thinking that's a very powerful verse, kind of describing this, that it's similar because the word elevated Mahatma is there, that they're letting go of this, all this material for the sake of Krishna.
Yeah, before maybe soften the blow, I'm guessing, but maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. So the good word you use is mundane, so that it didn't stress so much, and I'd like to take a moment to stress that mundane attachment, mundane family life. To be attached to my service to Krishna, being a Grihastha, and doing that so nicely for Krishna's pleasure, then the mundane attachment is not there. Yeah. So
there's an example of that too in the prayers of Queen Kunti. Queen Kunti prays, sever my attachments to all my family members. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that it's not the Pandavas, the Arjuna, Bhima, none of those devotees she wanted to be separated from, because to actually pray for separation from them would be offensive because they were good devotees of the Lord. Right. So actually she was just referring to those Vrishnis that were not Vishnus and Kurus that were not devotees, but she was actually wanting to be attached to Arjuna and Bhima and the devotees.
Just on a Halinal nature, you got Kardama Muni taking sannyas, leaving his kid with Krishna, God, also leaving. So there's a whole other side of it. All for the sake of pleasing Krishna and playing the role right. Go ahead, sorry.
So regarding the screaming kids and the mundane, sense gratification that goes on, which is true, but those kids grow up and they don't change. They're still screaming in the bars and screaming aggressively and different things. So, and then they have kids and they want them to have fun, but they're still in that same energy. So the cycle goes on. And, Prabhupada, wanted us to have a nice Gurukula system so that the children could be raised and all their education and everything within the Krishna consciousness, and that will automatically make an attachment to Krishna. So even if they grow up and get married and stuff, they have that innately in them, their attachment to Krishna. So they don't have to worry so much about detachment because they have that attachment to Krishna. So anyway, just if you want to elaborate on anything like that.
Thank you very much. Good point. The need for Gurukula, so important, right? And it reminded me of a thing that Prabhupada always says that I forgot to mention. I'm sitting at the table watching all this go on, and it's just so obvious. The words Prabhupada used, chewing the chewed, right? They're just chewing the chewed. The bubble gum has already been chewed so much that you have to chew it 1,000 times to get just a little bit of flavor out of it, And then you teach that to your kids, chew the chewed also. It's really what society is doing. It's hardly anything there, Plus they work so hard, so much time and energy is wasted. So devotees, just the opposite, max out the time and money and energy for advancing Krishna consciousness. Did you have a question?
Oh, maybe you read my mind. I was just thinking of a nice point you made. Thank you. I was listening to your class the other day when I wasn't here, and you were saying something about how, like you were saying, we work so hard to get some enjoyment out of this life like our people do materially, but Krishna came here as Lord Chaitanya to experience how much bliss you get from being a devotee, maybe even more than Krishna for why he came here as Lord Chaitanya. So why work so hard in that way if we can get even more bliss as a devotee? And it just makes me think of, like you were saying, how hard people are working in the world, and if they only knew and could put that energy towards Krishna consciousness, how sweet of a transcendental party we'd be having,
Yeah. What you just shared just reminded me of something. Just the value associated with devotees and discussing things. Somebody shares something, just further enlightenment happens. And, I kind of give guidance to some TSKP devotees. And then when I hear them talk about, maybe I should do this differently or that differently, material adjustments, then maybe I'll be more happy. I immediately just go, seeing that 1,000 billion times in my mind, I just know the solution. It means that I'm not reading enough, or I'm not chanting. I can chant more rounds and read more. And then all that goes away, right? You just read and chant. All of a sudden, all the atoms in the van just seem like I'm in Vaikuntha. Everything feels so good. My back problem's gone. It's like even the touch of this jacket seems like, wow, nectar, I mean, my greatest happiness is I should share it on this. I was going to say having a new pea jug in my van. It's like, wow, it's like getting a Ferrari for material. It's like, wow, it's like makes you so happy. It's the littlest things. So so just need to increase the sadhana and everything's good. Don't need to have a new van and so forth and so on.
Yeah, well, we think of, like you were saying, trying to solve this and that problem, and it's just I feel like you'll use the saying like going back to the basics. That's what reminds me of, just go back to the basics and everything will work out.
Fine. Thanks for sharing. Any other comments or questions? Look like you are on the verge of sharing some. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember reading like in the introduction to this chapter something about like how King Kriyavarta took on his kingdom, you know, and sort of at the encouragement of the demigods, right? And so that just made me think about sometimes, you know, we might take on a position at the encouraging of, you know, people that know a little bit more than us. And anyway, that I was just thinking about that because sometimes someone might be engaged in family life, but still are very elevated. And I thought about Srila Prabhupada talking about, you know, he was getting kind of heat for having so many Grihastha devotees, right? But then those couples were able to go and start centers in places where other people had failed, you know. So sometimes at the urging of wiser souls, we might do something like that.
Yeah, Sankarshandas Adhikari.
Yeah.
You know, he's a nice example of brahmachari, totally blissed out, happy being a brahmachari, probably a sannyasi. But his authority said, "Could you please get married so that you can show that it's possible to do it all married?"
Yeah.
And so he did. I was told he never has ever embraced his wife even. So, right? Okay. And it's perfect. You know, they're like hucking everything.
Right.
What a perfect example. Amazing personalities. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Divya and I just saw a YouTube yesterday with Mukunda Prabhu with Siddhanta. And his letters. And Mukunda was saying that Prabhupada didn't even ask them, the three couples that went to London. They just wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they wanted to start a center in London. And he said how he spent a full year before they really picked up any traction and got anything happening. But Prabhupada hadn't even requested it. They just wanted to do it.
Yeah, that's an amazing success story. Yes, please.
Recently, I've been meditating some Lord Vamanadev, you know. Lord Vamanadev says, you know, if I can't be satisfied with 3 steps of land,
right,
I won't be satisfied with the whole universe. Yeah. And so what it really comes down to is just if we can't be satisfied, we can't be satisfied. That's it. You're not going to be satisfied any other position because you can't be satisfied. And so how do we get satisfied? We have to somehow or another get Krishna's mercy. We have to. It's the only thing that really, and so it's a waste of time and energy to think that I'm going to change my situation and get satisfied. It's a waste of time and energy because you're not going to be satisfied because you're not satisfied now. So how could you be satisfied then? This is confirmed by the Lord himself. So the only thing we can do is like, let me focus on my Krishna consciousness, and whatever is going to happen either way. So that's my meditation, frantic, manic meditation.
Cool.
I'll just think to myself.
You got Paranjana, right? Paranjana, in an allegorical story, Paranjana, he basically is scouring the earth, finding an insufficiency everywhere, right? Finding insufficiency everywhere. And that's just the living entity in this material dimension, not in touch with Krishna consciousness. Always an insufficiency. I can't find no satisfaction. Or, you know, somebody needed to give Mick Jagger a book, right? You just, no problem. Anyway.
He also gave us these lessons. You can't always get what you want either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to say.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Try sometimes.
All right.
Like,
What we need is suffering.
Anything else?
Paramesvara Prabhu ki jai.
Bhagavatam ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.